Hello my loves, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing some clips from our recent trip to New York City. This is actually our second time going to New York City, and it's almost the exact same trip we took 3 years prior. We loved it so much. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law invited us to go again, and it doesn't take much to convince me to go and travel and see beautiful places. So Arlo spent the weekend with his grandma, and the four of us headed to the East Coast for a magical weekend in New York. Like I said, we've gone the exact same weekends, both trips, but that's because it's such a beautiful time to go to New York. So it's the weekend before Thanksgiving, so it definitely has all the Christmas vibes, but I feel like we're missing a lot of the Christmas crowds. Don't get me wrong, it was busy, but it just didn't feel as busy as it could get in like prime Christmas time. So as soon as we got there, we took the bus to the subway station, and then we were dragging our bags through the rain. It did rain the first 2 days that we were there, but that's okay, it didn't stop us. And we tried to go to this famous sandwich shop called Katz's, I think it's called. You'll see the sign here in a second, and I may be saying it wrong, but it was closed for a private party, so we were bummed about that. We walked all the way there, but it was still fun just seeing New York. We were so excited to be back in the city. We finally grabbed some pizza, which it was not the best veggie pizza, like who puts broccoli on a pizza, and then got ready and headed out to go see Wicked on Broadway. So this was like the weekend before Wicked was coming out in theaters. So how cool that we got to see Wicked in its original state on Broadway before we went to this restaurant called Lily's Victorian Establishment, I believe it's called. And it was so beautifully decorated for Christmas. Just instantly got us in the mood. And I've heard even when it's not decorated from Christmas, it's still got this top-notch Bridgerton Victorian vibe. So I highly recommend this restaurant. The food was amazing. The drinks were super fun. And we barely fit into this table, especially with our tall husbands. But it was still such a fun experience for the four of us. Day 2, we were all craving a New York bagel, so that is the first thing that we did. I personally lean towards the sweeter side when it comes to bagels and spreads. It's probably the Midwestern in me, but I know that the traditional bagel with the salmon, and I think it has all this other stuff on it, like chives, and I can't think of the word, but I'll put it up on the screen, is also really good. But the bagel that we got was delicious. I think it was just a cinnamon bagel with some type of sweeter cream cheese. So we sat there and enjoyed our bagel and just figured out our plan for the day. That was one of my favorite things about New York, is we just had a general plan, but then we'd also walk around and see what felt good and aligning, and we would adjust based off that. Next, we went to another cute coffee shop. I'll put the name below. It was close to our hotel, and they had these iced coffees that you could get in a bag that you hold, kind of like a blood bag. I'm a hot coffee girl, especially when it's cold out, and it was cold and rainy. I believe I got a vanilla spiced latte, which was delicious. Tiny and expensive, but delicious, which I know we're in New York, so everything's going to be on the more expensive side, and worth it just for the experience. This was a super cute place. I loved all the neon signs. I was taking videos of them as I was going to the bathroom, and they even had a little swing that you can swing on the way out. Our hotel was in Chelsea, so after the coffee shop, we went ahead and walked to the Hudson Yard, which has a really nice mall. So we walked around, just looked at the shops, did a little bit of Christmas shopping for my nephews, and mostly just had fun, you know, being on our own parents' weekend out and enjoying the energy of New York. They also have this really cool structure called the Vessel, which you'll see here in a second. We didn't end up going up in it because it was rainy and cold and it cost, but it was really cool to look at, and I know I've seen it in quite a few movies. That's another thing I love about walking around New York is you constantly feel like you're in a movie because so many movies are filmed in these different areas. As you're walking around, you just feel like you're in a movie yourself, which is such a cool feeling. After walking down the High Line, which used to be a train railroad that they converted into this walkway through the city, it was really, really cool. If you get the chance, go and walk on it because you get to see all the cool apartment buildings as you're walking. And again, it was perfect time because the leaves were changing. It was raining, but the weather wasn't bad. And we took that as we walked to Chelsae Market, which is a market with all of these cute shops and delicious food. We could have spent a lot of time here just shopping and eating, but I did have something I wanted to get to across town. So we ate a few snacks and then took the subway back down Fifth Avenue to go and try and chase a glimpse of Chelsae. Now, I'm a true millennial. I was an NSYNC girly growing up, loved NSYNC. My favorite person in the band was Chelsae. I have so many things I could say about him. He recently released an album and just happened to be in New York promoting his album. He was doing a signing at the Barnes & Noble on Fifth Avenue. So, of course, I had to go and just try to at least get a glimpse. I missed ticket sales somehow, probably when I delete social media for my own mental health. I missed the announcement. But I was able somehow, by the universe aligning, I was able to sneak up and peek through the curtains here. The security guy just happened to walk away at the perfect timing. Like, talk about alignment. And I got to even make eye contact with Chelsae. Now, if you're not a millennial, if you're not an NSYNC girly, this probably isn't very exciting to you, but just imagine meeting like your number one celebrity. This is definitely the number one celebrity I would love to meet, which I didn't actually get to meet him, but I saw him. We made eye contact. He was probably like, who is this crazy girl staring at me through the curtains? And they almost kicked out the guy next to me. They said, if you do not leave, like, we're gonna kick you out. But they didn't say anything to me. So it was just such a cool experience. Thank you, Steven, for helping me accomplish this and capturing all these video clips. It is a moment I think about every single day and I will never forget. So after that, we went and met back up with Jake and Danielle for some coffee at Ralph's. It's a cute little coffee stand outside of the Rockefeller Center, and just continued to walk around Fifth Street. Again, this is one of my favorite things to do in a city, is just walk around and see what speaks to you, see where you want to go. We ended up in the American Girl doll store. This was obviously a day for my inner child. She was thriving. We saw where they do the ice skating by Rockefeller Center. The tree was there, but we couldn't quite see it just yet. It wasn't lit up yet, so that is a con to going at this time of year, so you can't see the tree, but pretty much everything else is decorated. And then we ended up at a Starbucks Reserve, which is a very fancy Starbucks where you can order drinks. So we got a espresso martini flight, which I didn't love all the flavors, but we still had so much fun just sitting, drinking, talking, laughing, and relaxing because we had done a lot of walking this day. Day 3, we had a few things we wanted to see, but we also had a lot of room for flow. That is my biggest tip, I would say. Not that I'm the planner of the group, I'm more of the go longer with the plans. Steven's the planner. But the way that he plans, and I love it as well, is we just leave room for like running into things like this Harry Potter store. We went in there and had some fun looking at the different wands. Jake got some butterbeer, and I just love bumping into things that you never knew that you were going to see in different cities. Steven did have a request that we stop in the Capital One Lounge, which is a coffee shop for people that have Capital One credit cards. I think you can go there whether you have a Capital One credit card or not, and it's also a bank. But honestly, their coffee was one of my favorite coffees that we got in New York. So I had low expectations, and it exceeded my expectations. Afterwards, we walked through Central Park a little bit. We did a lot of Central Park last time. So we just kind of barely walked through, looking again at the trees because it's a pretty time of year. And it's just stunning to see this scenery with New York City skyline in the background. That never gets old to me. And even though we had seen technically 2 celebrities at this point, I was still weirdly making eye contact with every single person I walked past because, again, as you're walking through Central Park, you just feel like you're in a movie. So I was just convinced that we were going to see someone famous, which we didn't, but it was still so fun walking through, pretending like you're in a movie yourself. After Central Park, we took the subway to Brooklyn because we were going to eat over there and then walk back across the Brooklyn Bridge. That didn't go exactly to plan, but honestly, I didn't have really any expectations for Brooklyn, but it was so cute. I would love to go back to this area and spend more time here. We ended up going to a food market that I can't remember the name of, but I'll put up on the screen. And I had a truffle burger that was amazing. It tasted so good in this moment with some sweet potato fries, but they had lots of different options. And then as we were walking across the bridge, we unfortunately found out that there was a jumper on the bridge, so we had to turn back around and go the other way. But the bridge was beautiful. Again, I felt like I was in Sex and the City. Like, I just feel like I've seen this scene so many times on TV, on movies, on different shows. It was very unfortunate that we had to turn around, and obviously very unfortunate that someone was trying to jump off the bridge. But fortunately, they did not die. They got down safely. I don't know the whole story. I don't know how common that was, but that was kind of a crazy thing that happened to us on the Brooklyn Bridge. I would love to walk across the whole thing someday because it is beautiful. And going during golden hour, highly recommend. We ended our evening by walking around Greenwich Village because there were a lot of different sites that we wanted to see there, and this part of town was so cute. I can see why this is like the local young hip area, at least that's what it seemed like to me. Of course, I had to go and see Carrie Bradshaw's apartment, which I'm sorry to the people that live there. They look like they get annoyed with all the people. And then we went and also saw the Friends building. It's just a clip that they show in between different scenes on the Friends show. Even though they filmed it in LA, it was still iconic to see this building. And then we also stopped by where Taylor Swift lived for a short period of time in New York, and we even saw a Taylor Swift tour, which was so cute, seeing all these girls on this tour, and we even got to hear some of the facts from him. Afterwards, we decided to do a little bar hopping, drink with the locals. We stopped and got margaritas and some tacos. Such a perfect ending to day 3, and we ended up on a whim going to Times Square one more time. Honestly, you could probably go to Times Square once and be satiated with that need. It is very overstimulating, but it's also so cool, like so iconic to go and see all the screens. It's just a sight to be seen. You obviously have to go see Times Square when you're in New York. Our last day in New York, we decided to get bagels again at this really delicious bagel spot. It's supposed to be one of the best. I'll put the name up here. It was extremely busy, and we ended up eating outside. I got the same bagels that I got before. Do not come at me for not getting the traditional New York bagel. And then we ended up going back to Bryant Park to do some more shopping because it was so rainy the night that we went. We wanted to just do a little bit more shopping before we left. Honestly, this trip was so much fun, so magical, and came at the perfect time. If you listen to my podcast, you know why. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity to go to New York again and to travel with our family. We had such a fun time together and just made some memories that we're going to talk about forever, especially meeting Chelsae, obviously. So we took the bus back to the airport. We made sure we got there with plenty of time because if you know, you know. My husband is a credit card hacking king, I say, and he gets us into all of these beautiful lounges just by having certain travel credit cards. I'm going to have him come on the podcast to try to break this down because we don't do anything that fancy. We just use it to travel, and we use those credits to travel, and it gets us into these lounges where you get food and drinks, and you could even get a massage here. We didn't have time, for free. It's amazing. Like, it is such an underrated part of traveling. If you are a frequent traveler, you need some travel credit cards. So thank you so much for joining me in this New York City vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave any of your favorite parts below, or places that I should have gone to, or places that you recommend going to in the future, because I'm sure I'll be back at some point. Like and subscribe if you are new here. I'm so grateful for every single one of you, and of course I will see you in the next video.